This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Don't be shy, shy, shy. La 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 la.
Final hour OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. We got a big one tonight. Game 7 in Boston, Celtics Heat. Game 6 in Dallas, Stars, Golden Knights. Jays are off tonight, right? Jays taking 2 of 3. That's big. It wasn't exactly, perfect baseball. But beggars can't be choosers right now. And yeah, they made some mistakes. They're walking a lot of guys. I mean, that's a big part of the daily conversation around this team. Like the starters, the amount, like just a complete lack of control in the strike zone. But you take 2 of 3. Springer's coming alive. Bichette is red hot. And Barrios, I think his ERA is down to like 385, 386.
And the guys behind him, like everyone in the starting rotation has taken their turns wet in the bed. Like Bassett and Manoah and Gausman has a bat. Like, let's be honest, Hayes, if they can't get it out, because the whole idea is that after another, like if they're all dialed in, that's tough to compete with. Right. But if they're gas cans, it's game over. Like they need 3 of the 4 of them to get it going.
Who's been their ace so far? Is it Gausman?
It's Gausman. Yeah. And I would say Bassett is second, but he got rocked on Saturday night. It was
rough go.
Yeah, he had a rough weekend. So, and he is not expected to be your number 1 or your number 2. Like the way they came in with Manoah 1 and Gausman kind of 1B, right? Like pick your poison, Manoah or Gausman. And when they acquired and paid Barrios, the expectation was that Barrios would be in that mix. And then you're filling out the rest of your rotation with Bassett, with Kikuchi, and whoever else.
Right.
But so to be fair to Bassett, like he's not expected to put up like a 2.80 ERA and be a stud every 5th day. He's going to have ups and downs. But you're right, like you will know this team is cooking when they're going through that starting rotation 2-3 times and these guys are rocking. Like then it becomes you shrink the bullpen. The bats are bound to come alive. There's a couple of guys who are killing them in the month of May. As good as Chapman was in April,
wear the opposition down. It's like that guy after that guy after that guy. It's like, man, that's a tough starting rotation.
Tough. Exactly.
Yes.
Like if they're performing at the level they're supposed to, you should look at that rotation and say that is clearly one of the best in the American League.
Yes.
Clearly. Yeah. And what's wild is they've all been healthy. They're all there every 5th day. They're pitching. There hasn't been a hiccup yet. And
except for their play.
Except for their production and their lack of reliability every 5th day. But off tonight, Milwaukee in town tomorrow. Corbin Burns not a part of the rotation for Milwaukee, so they're going to dodge that bullet from the Brewers' standpoint. But Manoah pitched the second game of the series at home. It's going to be a beautiful week up here, like sunny and hot. Ooh. Like the Dome will be rocking this week. And they got to get off. They got to get cooking at home. That's another thing. Like against their division at home, like all these things have to break their way. So Jay's off tonight, back in action tomorrow. Leo Rautins will join us here in a moment, and we'll begin by asking him about the news of the day. And I think it's clearly in this market surpassed the actual game. It's Nick Nurse on his way to Philly, and like Nick Nurse teaming up with Joel Embiid.
Fascinating.
It really is fascinating. They've had so many
beefs,
and you see them talking on the sideline a bunch of times. Embiid referenced Nurse last round or a round or two ago.
With the refs.
Just saying, hey, I don't like it. Like, what are we going to do? What do we have? A Nick Nurse over there on the other side? Like basically goofing on his antics in the way that he's animated. Like Nick is animated. He's always going at it. He's always flabbergasted that they didn't get a call or that a call went against them. But guess what's going to continue in Philly? The exact same thing, right? You're paying for the Nick Nurse that was so successful in Toronto. And to chat about it, we're joined now by our Raptors analyst, longtime NBA analyst, obviously played down in Philly. Here's our main man, Leo Rautins. How you doing, Leo?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're doing well. We were obviously, gearing up for the game tonight. We'll ask you about that momentarily, but this Nick Nurse news has really broken the bank and kind of taken over the storylines of the afternoon, as I'm sure you're aware of. It's wild that he's going to Philly, man. Of all places, he and Joel Embiid are now going to be best friends. How do you see that relationship working out?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Being Joel Embiid, and I assume Harden won't be there, but you never know. Being his best friend, a lot of coaches have come and gone from Philadelphia, and I don't think being his best friend is going to keep you there. He's a tough guy to coach. Doc Rivers can attest to that. Embiid had an MVP.
Okay, we'll get Leo back. Leo, let me put you on hold. We'll try to get you back. You dropped there, and we'll see if we can reset. That's 2 for 2, right? We had Gibby on. Gibby had the cell phone. I think he was in the car. Leo's in the car. It's all good, right?
It's all good.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Nothing but positive
it's a
vibes.
Monday. It's a 27. Was it 27 today?
Beautiful.
Now, both of you.
And let it be known that it's a communications building, and they just refuse to fix it, whatever going on in the studio. So
well, I don't think it has anything to do with this. I think that's just the phone. I don't think that had anything to do with an issue on our end. But it's all good. We'll see. We'll get Leo back.
So, did both of you guys tee it up, or you didn't tee it up this morning?
No, I haven't in quite some time.
Well, you better get out there. You should be in Hamilton.
I'm a busy
at least,
guy.
Maybe a little.
Right. We got the Canadian Open next week. I got to gear up for the Pro-Am. I'm terrified. I got such a great reputation at that Pro-Am.
Yes.
If I chop it around, that's going to be the end of me. We got you back, Leo. Continue with that thought, though. Joel Embiid and Nick and being his best friend. How do you think Nick is going to approach him?
Well, first of all, I think Nick is a great coach in difficult environments. He's a great coach, period, but he's somebody who can find ways to make things happen. And there's obviously a lot of tools in Philadelphia, despite Embiid saying, I don't know, it can't be just me and James Harden after he loses. The problem is it's not just him and James Harden. The problem is it's him, okay? Embiid, I don't think you can win with him simply because I don't think he's – and a lot of people are going to take this in a lot of different ways. He was an MVP this season. But what does he do in the postseason to get your team to the championship? His body is questionable. His conditioning is always questionable. And his work ethic is questionable. And when your best players are not your hardest workers, your best defenders, and have the greatest attitude, you're going to have a problem winning. And I think that's the problem with Philadelphia. Now, Nick Nurse is a great coach. Nick Nurse can get the most out of anybody, can figure out situations. So I guess if you were to pick somebody to say, hey, can you make this work? Nick Nurse can do it. But I just question whether you could do it with Embiid.
So if Nick Nurse is in a meeting with upper management from Philadelphia and they said, how could you get James Harden and Joel Embiid over the hump? What do you think? You know Nick well. What is something that he would possibly say that might kind of rub people the wrong way, maybe the players that were involved? Like, what would he say to convince people that, yeah, maybe this guy can do that?
Well, I think he's going to say conditioning has to be different. I mean, you're going to have to push him. You're going to have to motivate him. And that's something I'm sure, Embiid doesn't want to hear. I've had NBA coaches watch Sixer practices in recent years and say, man, good luck. Just good luck when you're dealing with him. So, and everybody, so Nick Nurse, he's going to have to sell the idea that he can get him in great shape. He can keep him in great shape. And I think the biggest sell is finding ways to make him productive at the same time playing off of everybody else. I think Jokic is a great example. If I want to sell working with a big man, I'm going to look at Jokic in Denver. I'm going to say, hey, okay, here, everybody wants these 7-footers to shoot. Embiid wants to get outside and shoot. Well, Joker shoots too. But guess what? Joker kicks your butt inside. Okay, he beats you up inside. He scores on you left and right. He's got an assortment of moves, and he beats you inside. Yes, he can come out and hit a jump shot. Yes, he can make passes from all over the place. But he does not forget he's a 7-footer. If Joel Embiid made up his mind and just kick your rear end every single time down the floor, he could do it. But it's just not in his DNA. And that's if I'm Nick Nurse, I got to convince him that he's got to dominate night in and night out in the paint, and everything else you do on top of that is icing on the cake. So can you do that? That's the big question.
Nick Nurse has been hired down in Philly. We're chatting with Leo Rautins. Obviously, Nick wanted to get back in the game. There have been reports out there that he was talking with different teams. Milwaukee's gone a different route. Maybe they knew this was coming. Phoenix has been linked to Nurse. But I'm curious. You know Nurse pretty well. Like, he got fired. They pushed him out. Do you think he's vindictive at all? Like, do you think there's an element of him that really wants to stuff it to the Raptors? And if so, how do you see his interaction with the team moving forward?
Vindictive is kind of a strong word. I think people understand what this league is all about. The coaches get fired all the time. Coaches get moved all the time. Sometimes it can be nothing more than, hey, it's time for a different voice. And so, hey, when he coaches against Toronto, is he going to want to kick their ass? Sure, absolutely. He's definitely going to want to do that. But that's just part of, being competitive and the competitive nature of the game. So I don't think that he's necessarily going to, have something out for the Raptors. He got paid well. He got a great opportunity to coach. He became an NBA champion coaching the Raptors. Now it's just time to move on and take the next chapter.
So where are you at with this Miami-Boston series? Is Jimmy Butler going to get it done, or is it Tatum and his crew that are going to finish the comeback?
Wow, I tell you what, this is going to be really, really hard for Miami. Really hard. I'll tell you what, the last game, the last 5 minutes, I kept saying, one thing over and over. Finish the defensive possessions. Finish the possessions. And they gave up these offensive rebounds consistently, including that one to end the game in favor of Boston. And, little plays like that can haunt you the rest of your life. And unfortunately, that's what happened to Miami. So my question is this. Can Jimmy Butler, we've seen some heroic games from him in these playoffs. Can he be the most dominant player on the floor, hands down, for 48 minutes? That has to happen. Can Bam Adebayo, he's been in a little bit of a funk. He works his tail off. He does a lot of good things on the floor, but he's had a hard time missing all kinds of bunnies around the basket. Can he be dominant in this game? Because unless that happens with both of them, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. They have to dominate this game offensively, and then they're going to have to get some contribution. Kyle Lowry's got to step up. Kyle Lowry has to be a factor in this game. If that happens, they got a chance. But if you go apples to apples, I mean, if Boston plays their best basketball and they're at home, they're a better team than the Miami Heat. So it's going to, Miami's got to come in with a lot of extra. They're going to have to hope that Boston's not making their shots the way they didn't, for a large part of the game, last game in Miami, and come up with a heroic performance. It's going to be interesting. I honestly don't know what to expect. Which Jimmy Butler, which Bam Adebayo, who are we going to see on the floor?
With Leo Rautins, well, it's amazing how many narratives, could possibly be driven home tonight. And, legacies are always at stake when you get into a Game 7, especially in the conference final, and especially when you add the context to which is, in front of us here. No team in NBA history has come back from 0-3, which means no team in NBA history has choked away a 3-0 lead. And, Jimmy Butler, what he's done throughout these playoffs has solidified him as arguably the best playoff performer in sports, not just the NBA, pro sports, period. Spoelstra is the epitome of a winning coach. Pat Riley, the definition of an architect. If they choke this away, Leo, how does their legacy change at all? Does the reputation change? And if so, how much?
I don't think so. Jimmy Butler has had a couple of tough games. There's no question. And Bam Adebayo's had a couple of tough games. But the reality is this. If you compare the regular season, Boston is the better team. Mm-hmm. So Boston struggled immensely early on. They were able to regroup. And again, by all rights, Miami should have won the last game. And the ball bounced the wrong way, and they didn't. So, I don't know if legacies get destroyed. I think you would have to look at if there was a lot more expectation coming into these playoffs. If at the start of this playoffs, before anything happened, everybody said, "Hey, Miami's going to be in the finals and they're one of the teams to beat," maybe we have a different story. But who was talking about Miami being in the finals at the start of these playoffs? Right? It was
Right.
Milwaukee. Milwaukee was supposed to be here, not Miami. So,
Well, that's what's kind of amazing,
and,
though, Leo, is that like that. I think at a minimum, it makes you forget that. Like they didn't just beat the Bucks; they dismantled them in 5. And like that never happens.
Yeah,
1 versus 8, like it never happens.
Exactly, and again, look at some of the performances that Jimmy Butler had to have to get them to this point. So. There's a lot going on. I think there are some issues, too, like the depth of Miami is a little bit of an issue. And the fact that, hey, they're doing this, 9 undrafted guys? And I get it. You don't that narrative of being undrafted, you could overplay that because, hey, these guys have been in the NBA a little bit now, they're seasoned, and they're obviously playing great basketball. But the fact is, they're not the big names that a lot of these teams have on their rosters. And so the fact that they've gotten here, they've done what they've done, I can't say that it would be, it would damage anybody's legacy. It'd be a huge disappointment considering where they were, I think, for them more than anything else. But I'm also curious to see what the reaction will be. I mean, think about this. Not even a week ago, Joe Mazzulla couldn't coach,
Right.
and he lost his team. Think about that.
Right.
And I read yesterday that Derek White's the most underrated player in the game.
Right.
Well, was he a week ago? Come on. All these narratives come up and all these stories come up because you're talking about this every day. But a lot of them are just ridiculous. So I'm just looking forward to this game. I hope we do see one of those unbelievable Jimmy Butler nights because I'd like to see this one go down to the wire.
Yeah, it'd be great. You're right about Mazzulla, man. He was out. Like, they were going to fire him between games 3 and game 4. If there was a vote in Boston, he would have been
ridiculous.
out. Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
Right. Well, we'll see. What are you hearing, and what do you think about the Raps here, Leo, in terms of them not hiring a coach yet? I mean, we saw, Adrian Griffin's on his way to Milwaukee. You got Nick is in Philly. Like, these vacancies are starting to fill up here. The Raps got a head start on all these teams. What do you make of, Masai and Bobby taking this long to pick a coach?
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, one of the things we've seen from Masai and Bobby that, they never worry about what people are saying and not rushing any decision they ever make. And they're and whatever decision they make, and I've said this day one about any time we talk about this stuff, unless something fits into their long-term picture, they're just not going to bring in anybody. So I'm sure there's still a lot of good names out there, and I don't care whether you talk about somebody that's never had coaching experience like a J.J. Redick or Steve Nash, who I think is a very underrated coach. If you look at the crap he dealt with around his situation when he did coach at the Nets, and then you look at some experienced guys like Monty, who's still out there, or Doc Rivers, whoever else may be out there. So there's still a lot of good options, and much like we saw with Nick Nurse, don't be surprised if somebody just remember Nick Nurse wasn't in all the rumblings when he got the job. Budenholzer, as a matter of fact, was the primary name you heard back then. So, with Masai and Bobby, you just never know. There's no leaks, but they certainly are not going to rush for any of us.
No, it doesn't seem that way.
When the time comes, they're going to make the decision they feel is best going forward.
Yep, that is disappointing. They don't take us into consideration, Leo. They really should.
I know. Come on, seriously. With all the time we put into this, come on.
Yeah, figure it out, guys. Come on, we're dying here. Anyway, Leo, it's great catching up with you, man. Enjoy the game tonight, and we'll do this again soon. Thank you.
Sounds great, guys. Have a good one.
There he is, Leo Rautins, our TSN NBA analyst.
You think they're going to go like unconventional and just pick some guy? I don't know if they're going to go the J.J. Redick, Steve Nash route. I just don't know if that's...
Steve Nash is just such a different beast because of who he is.
No kidding.
Him coming up here, he immediately... It becomes such a bigger story than...
It's like Gretzky coaching the Coyotes.
Yeah, but even more so because it'd be
for
a Canadian team. It'd be like Gretzky coming and coaching the Leafs.
Or the Habs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, Nash in Brooklyn, obviously everyone knows him. He's a Hall of Famer, 2-time MVP. But up here, he's like the undisputed greatest basketball player ever. And it just would take on a completely different look and feeling.
Gretzky and Nash kind of had the same track record as coaches, correct? I mean, it didn't go so well. right?
Now, Durant, like Kyrie, it was a mess.
Yeah.
Like, it was, to be fair to Steve Nash, it was a circus.
mess.
It was a full-blown circus in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So it is difficult to evaluate, and I give him credit. Like, by all accounts, he still wants to do it. Like, and I'm not surprised. He's competitive, and he knows how it went out. He flamed out in Brooklyn. He wants a chance to redeem himself.
It was a bit of a circus for Gretzky, though, too. I remember Tyson Nash said he played on that team, and he looked back, and Gretzky just be staring at him going, he goes, I know that Gretzky's looking at me going, you are a terrible hockey player. Like, can you imagine Gretzky looking at his bench, and he knows he's better than everybody on that bench at that time probably, too.
That's what's wild. He could strap on skates and at least run a power play better than the second PP unit. Like, without question at that point.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, that's what's going on down in Oakland, right? Like, the Athletics. Like, if you're running that team, you must be looking around saying, this is a practical joke. Like, this is the major league script without the turnaround and everyone coming together and them going on a run. It's the
I just can't imagine what the players are thinking, like how miserable it is getting caved in like that every day. Facilities a joke. Their travel's probably a joke. God knows what else, hotel accommodations. Not that should be high on a priority list, but unfortunately it is with these guys these days. Well, it must be just all a joke. Like, it's just no fun for anyone.
I'm looking at it like their roster. Trevor May, 33 years old, makes $7 million. Like, this guy, but you look at
that makes him an outlier, I'm sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the rest they've got, they got a guy at 6.5, 4.5, but then you start going down, and everyone's in the 700s and lower.
Oh, it's they got guys playing out there that, I consider myself a sports fan, but also someone that needs to be, logical of what's happening and somewhat informed. They got guys out there playing where it's no idea who these people are. And they've lost 11 games in a row. 11 in a row. And I'd put money on the line that will not be their worst losing streak of the season.
Me neither, man. Wait till they stop really caring at the end of the season.
Right. They'll get to September.
They'll lose 35 in a row in September.
They might lose a lot.
August into September, 35 in a row.
See, but that's where
it could get uglier.
You know how everybody wants to see success stories. We were talking about it earlier. Like, I would love a 30 for 30 or a Netflix special on that season right there.
Yes. This is the opposite
This is
of
the
Moneyball.
opposite. Exactly. I want to watch this and go, what's going on? What do these guys do when they come in every day, when they go to the
they show up at the
field, show at the park, and like the losses must wear on them.
Their rotation.
But isn't there a mandate in baseball where they got to reach some kind of floor as well?
It's all revenue sharing too, right?
So it's just you can be as bad as you want.
Yeah, basically, and the owners share the revenue, so the owner's going to still find a way to make money out there, even with all this.
Well,
they'll cook the books, and then other teams will end up paying them.
Right now, I'm looking at it right now. 2023 payroll total is $59.7.
59.
So $60 million, we'll call it.
So the Mets have two starting pitchers that blow past that. Like Scherzer and Verlander are both making like 42 or 43. Like, they have two starting. They are going to pay. The Mets are paying, and because these guys have been hurt, they're not going to get close to it. But they came into the season expecting about 65 collective starts for $85 million, way more than the payroll in Oakland. And you look at the rotation. I believe I saw it. Someone sent it to me earlier. I think they have a team ERA of like 6.78 or something. And you look at some of these guys. J.P. Spears, the guy's thrown 53 innings. He's got a 4.70. That's their ace. There are guys who are going out there every fifth day with like 8 ERAs. Like, who are these guys? Kyle Muller has thrown 47 innings. He's got an 8.04 ERA. Imagine every fifth day you're like, all right, Mully, let's go, pal. What do you got?
Just get rocked.
Just go out there and get destroyed. There's some guy named Shintaro Fujinami who has a 12.24 ERA, and he's started 4 games.
Wow.
He's thrown 28 innings. Like, that's the sample size.
That's what it is, though. That's what they want. Like,
Just throw anyone out there.
And everyone's on 1-year deals. You're looking at it like that.
Oh, yeah. They're bottoming out for Vegas. They want to get there and basically have a clean slate, and then they'll start spending.
Wow.
Sure, that's their plan. But this team, this roster is absolutely abysmal. 10-45, minus 199.
Is there like a FanDuel number that there's zero chance they could make the playoffs or zero chance? But is there some sort of FanDuel number? It's like if you put down $100 right now for them to do something to make the playoffs alone.
Plus $1 billion. Like plus infinity.
FanDuel will just never has. It's impossible. It's not happening.
Yeah, that would be it. FanDuel will say if you put down a penny and they make the playoffs, we'll just give you the company. It's your company now. Those are the odds. Because they're almost mathematically eliminated, and it's May.
Yeah.
So that'll be hilarious when someone tweets out the A's are mathematically eliminated. Yeah. Thanks. That'll be happening around July 14th.
Jeez.
Carlo Colaiacovo coming up. His take on Jamie Benn. Will he be the best player on the ice? You guys believe he'll be the best player on the ice tonight? I'm not willing to go that far.
Motivated.
We'll see what Coco has to say about that. Our best bets brought to you by FanDuel. Later in the hour, OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, we'll get to our best bets later in the hour. We got our boy Carlo Colaiacovo coming up here in a moment from First Up. We'll ask him, Jamie Benn back in the lineup tonight. Will he be an impact player tonight? Will he be the best player on the ice tonight?
Of course.
I wonder if the Vegas Golden Knights, though, are a little bit, pissed off by the fact that he only got 2 games and now he's back.
Dude, you heard their coach in your favorite comment about Arizona. They just have fallen asleep for 2 games, giving the puck away. And we touched on it off the top. Our boy, Noodles boy, Aiden Hill, he might be showing some cracks. And if Ottinger gets anywhere close to, like, Showtime Ottinger and this guy's showing some cracks, that could be a massive,
massive
shift in momentum, man.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's over if that happens.
My only fear, though, guys, is I thought the same thing, Aiden Hill going back into Edmonton for Game 6, because Vegas won in Edmonton on the road, and Aiden Hill put up a 40 spot. Mm-hmm. So that's what he might need to do that tonight.
Really well.
He might need to do that tonight in Dallas, because that'll be a tough road game to win. But Hill's got to have a game, and I didn't think he was very good last game, to be honest.
For sure. All right, you hear him every day, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. First up with Korolnik and Colaiacovo. Here he is, our main man, Carlo Colaiacovo. You leaning one way or the other tonight, Dallas or Vegas?
What's up, fellas? I think is this I would categorize this as a must-win for Vegas. I just think with the way the momentum has shifted in this series, Game 4, Vegas losing in overtime, they kind of like sniffed that chance into the finals. And then last game, having 2 leads and letting it slip away. If Dallas finds a way to win this game today, I would hate to be Vegas back in Game 7. So I don't know which way I'm leaning tonight, but I think the way that I'm leaning is probably to expect low scoring, tight checking.
Yeah, that seems to make some sense, right? Is that they ease into it, Cassidy's been all over them. Like, you cannot be turning the puck over. And,
I heard you guys rip on the Arizona Coyotes.
Well, we didn't rip on it. He opened the door for it.
What do you think Cassidy meant with that comment, Carlo? Do you think he was taking a shot, or he was just trying to think of a team in his division?
I think he was taking a shot at one of the worst teams in hockey.
Right. Of course he was. Come on.
I mean, it's pretty clear. I actually listened to some of the interviews coming out after the game, especially from some of the D-men in Vegas. And the constant thing that they were saying was that how Dallas has just ramped up their forecheck in the last couple of games and has really made it difficult for them to break out. And seems to be the common theme in this playoffs where teams that are really good forechecking teams are having great success. But should anybody be surprised by that? I mean, isn't that something consistent? We should know that, create success all playoffs. And
right.
Vegas was a team that was really good at it through the early rounds, and I guess they're getting a taste of their own medicine right now with Dallas.
Well, exactly. That's what Florida's been doing very successfully, right? Like the three teams still standing have been forechecking machines.
Yeah.
And, Florida, we discussed them earlier. Like, I'm sure they had guys banged up, clearly. So they should
Barkov.
be. Yeah, like Barkov being the prime example. He did play in Game 4, but he was obviously laboring a little bit. So the extra time off will help him. But this will be a long time now. Like, they're not going to start until Saturday. That's, pushing up on, 10, 11 days since the last time they played. What do you think their camp is like? Are they relaxed? Are they freaking out a little bit? What do you think's going on down in Florida?
Well, if they were living in a different place other than Florida, I wouldn't be too worried. But because they're living in Florida, you kind of have to maybe worry at the sense that they're just separating themselves from hockey and just enjoying the life of what Florida has to offer with the beach, the sun, everything casual about it. I mean, ODOG can speak to the best of this. I mean, the furthest I went was Game 7 of the second round where we lost to Chicago the year they went on to win the Cup. But I know just from being in the grind of the playoffs, you want to stay in it. You want to stay engaged and, play every other day or maybe get an extra day off between games. But I just feel like when you go this far, I don't know how much of a benefit it could be to have this much of a layoff, because it's kind of like you're taking yourself out of the zone. Now, I thought that going into Carolina's series with Florida, thinking that, they had almost a week off before they started that series. But, man, they came out guns a-blazing, and they really set the tone right from game one. So I guess with the way they play, maybe the extra days will benefit them. But I don't know. You can probably speak to this best, considering no disrespect to you, Noodles.
Second round. We went to the second round.
There you go.
But O's the guy that's gone to the finals. I mean, how do you think it's an advantage to Florida or no?
You know what? If you've got key guys and older guys, you look at Mark Stahl being a veteran, his brother Eric, getting those guys rested up is key. And the one thing you mentioned is it's fresh in their mind. They had a layoff going into Carolina, and they absolutely waxed the Carolina Hurricanes. So it's fresh in their mind. This is one that's a little bit longer, and you just worry about rust. Like, they haven't played a game in a long time.
Yeah.
So I always remember Peter Laviolette. If he felt that people were a little bit sleepy kind of in the afternoon at the rink, he would do something drastic. I mean, this sounds ridiculous, but we had a game of, like, shirts and skins basketball in the locker room because he wanted guys to wake up and get a sweat on. Like, just something like that where you got to get guys' attention. Like, maybe the morning skate of game one, it's just more of like an active pregame skate and a little bit more pace to it, some kind of regular practice drills. I don't know. That's on the coaches. That's why Paul Maurice and his staff, they make lots of money to coach hockey. They have to figure out what's best for that team to get ready for game one.
Yeah. And like, I can't imagine like battle drills would be part of the practice plan, when you've got, like, say on a day like tomorrow when you know you're not playing till Saturday. Like,
yeah, but some of those guys, the way they play, Carlo, they might actually need that. Matthew Tkachuk, Radko Gudas, Barkov, like, they might need to just have some engagement because you can't be sleepy going into game one because you get punched in the face.
Yeah,
I know.
Well, speaking of somebody who'd be motivated tonight, settle our argument. Do you think Jamie Benn will be a motivated captain tonight, having to watch
an impact player?
And one of the best players on the ice.
I do. I think he has to be. I mean, this guy just got a new life of hockey.
Really?
Well, just the two games that.
Now, just explain to this moron Hayes why you think he'll be a great
Explain
player
why
tonight.
he's back to being a 25-year-old Jamie Benn.
Look,
explain that.
As a captain of the team, there comes responsibility, right? You got to lead by example. And obviously, in Game 3, he did the furthest thing. He would lead by example. He made a selfish play, took himself out of the game, actually ended up costing the team the win. And I don't know what you guys were the comments you guys made about the comment he made about his defense to that. Like, to me, I couldn't believe somebody actually advised him that was a good way to defend himself, because it was absurd. But the fact that he had to watch 2 games, his team win 2 games, you'd have to think that he comes out tonight and he's like, okay, I owe one to my team. And if I've played my best hockey already this year, I've got to raise that level one more time and really show my team that I can lead by example. So I'm with you guys. I think you're going to see probably the best version of Jamie Benn, but I would be very surprised if he didn't, especially if he's the leader that he is and because of the way he plays too.
Well, here's my response to that on a couple of different levels, because you're not the first one to say it. I think, you may have said it earlier. I've seen others. He had to watch. They won both games. He didn't watch them lose. He didn't leave the series with the team up 3-0, and now it's 3-2, and it's possibly his fault. They got better. They won games when he wasn't in the lineup.
Dude, if it wasn't him, they'd be contemplating putting him back in.
Exactly.
Well,
that's probably the truth.
Do you think they visited like the Michael Bunting situation where when it's his turn to come back in? And...
That's a stretch, pal.
Because it's him. But here's my thing. Listen, Ben has had a great career, but even if you take the suspension out of it, on his own team, you're looking at Robertson, you're looking at Hintz.
Playing
I think you're
on the
looking
third
at
line,
Pavelski.
Brian. I know where you're going with this. He's been
looking
playing
at
on the
Eichel,
third line.
Heiskanen, Pietrangelo. Like Jamie Sagan's been very good. Ben's not the guy you're looking at to be an X factor, like best player on the ice. He doesn't play like that anymore.
Well, he does a little bit, and I think if you look at the way this series is playing, I know Dallas has been getting a lot of their goals from their top line guys like Robertson, Hintz, Pavelski, and they had other guys chip in last game, which was a difference when what's his name, Dellandrea, and Glendening got one. But for the most part, this series, Jason Robertson has come alive. Like he's been carrying the way, and I think. If we expect a tight checking game, wouldn't you expect a guy like Ben with the way that he plays and, the way that he checks to be that guy to score that greasy goal that may be the difference? I don't know. I just think that your boy, Pete DeBoer, Hazy, is going to look for a guy like him to sort of create a spark somehow. And he's got to do it, controlling his emotions, because clearly his emotions got the best of him last game.
Right. Well, that's it. The spotlight's on him for the first time in his career. He's walking into a situation, uncharted territory. He's been suspended for 2 games, at home. All eyes are going to be on him. We'll see. I hope Dallas wins tonight. I think that'd be great to push this to a Game 7. The idea of, being down 0-3, then it matches up with what's going on in the NBA. Yeah. Actually, like exactly that. With Denver dismantling the Lakers, the Panthers doing the same thing to the Carolina Hurricanes. And now both the other series we thought were going to be done in a sweep, and they could both be pushed to a 7th game. That'd be awesome. What are you making of the process of the Maple Leafs here? Obviously, they're interviewing people for the GM job, but there's still a lot to be determined, like who's going to be the GM, what do they do with Sheldon Keefe. Before you know it, we'll be at the draft, and it's time to move and shake once you get there.
I'm still very surprised that we're at this point, but clearly – it's the reality of where the Maple Leafs are. They need to find a new GM. And I think based on everything people expected to happen and the control that Brendan Shanahan has taken since this has all happened, I mean, the report that Chris Johnson said that he reached out to all the core 4 players and said that they're not going anywhere, when most people thought that this was the year that they, should finally break up. And the fact that the coach is still here, I don't think Brendan Shanahan's in a rush. I kind of think like all we've been hearing about Brad Treliving, if he was the guy, why wouldn't he be named already? I just think the longer this thing drags out, the more I convince myself that it's going to be somebody other than Brad Treliving. I mean, how do you guys feel about it?
It's tough to say. I mean, Treliving obviously is in the running based on reports, that he's interviewed, and you would expect that at a minimum, right? But it's tough to say. Like until trying to get any news out of this organization is difficult to do.
I would say
there's a lot of candidates.
When did this news come down? It was 10 days ago, right? Like it's Monday.
It was
Friday.
June 5th. So
no, it was the Friday. It was
May 5th.
No, it was longer than. Or was it
Doesn't matter,
It was
man.
10
It was a
days
while
ago.
ago.
Right now, and I'm looking at it cross-eyed with bubbles glasses.
2 Fridays ago.
It was
2 Fridays ago, yes.
Yeah, but it's Monday.
There you go.
It's literally been 10 days ago. So my point
You two
being,
need your own show. Just 2 idiots talking about
what I'm saying is
a calendar.
my
Be very
point being
compelling
is
stuff.
it hasn't been that long, and this is a massive decision. So I have no problem that it didn't, it's taken a little bit longer to sort it out because there's big decisions around the corner, but let's say if it's Tree Living or whoever else they've been talking to, they've only been approached in the last whatever it is within 10 days and it gets sorted
but
out.
On top of that, though, Noodles, like whoever, let's use Trey Living because he's the one we're talking about.
Right.
He's not just sitting with his feet up watching TV while he's waiting to see if he gets the job. He's putting together a plan, whether he gets it or not. Right? So, like, if he gets it, he's not going to show up day one and say, okay, so what are we thinking? Like, I haven't put any thought into this.
Right.
Like, whoever it is they'll start shaving people off, telling people they're out of the running. They'll get down to a list of 2 or 3. Maybe they cycle back through the interview process. Maybe that's when ownership gets involved if they're going to be.
Yeah.
And yet, whenever someone does get hired, they're going to be well aware that they were in the running. And, they'll implement the plan, and it's going to happen quickly, Carlo. Like, it doesn't matter how slow they are. The league works at the same pace every single year.
I think considering the decisions we all know they need to make, it would be surprising that they would allow this to drag out even longer. But I think, as Noodle said, I think this, because it's such a big decision and the eyes are on Brendan Shanahan, I don't think he's in any rush to make a decision, because I think what we've come to learn is that with everything that's happened, he's going to have final say in every decision that's made anyway. So the fact that he's the guy overseeing this with all the other decisions that need to be made, I mean, he can still make them on his own without a GM if the right guy doesn't pop up.
That's right.
Well, they've got a lot of people in place. Pridham's still there. They've got AGMs. And, yes, it was 10 days ago. It was May 19th, the Friday. It is May 29th today. So it's only been it seems like it's been longer, but it's been 10 days since this process has gone on.
Right.
Or at least you started. You fire Dubas that day, then you start making phone calls. So, I would hope that they take their time and don't make a rash decision just based on a quicker timeline because you've got things around the corner.
Right.
Well, we'll see.
Makes total sense, man. To me, like I said, I feel like the longer this thing goes, the more I convince myself that it's not going to be tree living. Because if it's going to be tree leaving, Noodle just said it's been 10 days. If he's been the top guy, why isn't he here yet? And why isn't it signed?
Well,
so,
I'm sure we'll find. I would guess we'll find out the next week or so. But it's just like the Raptors; they're on their own timeline. Like, they could have hired a coach by now, they haven't done it. So
I guess the only reason for any type of delay would be, and sometimes in these positions, that there's people that can pop up, much like Brian Burke, who was employed with the Anaheim Ducks when he got the job. Maybe there's a guy that inquires that's currently employed. Who knows?
Right.
Yeah, that's fair too.
Yep. He'll be turning over every rock. You know that. You have to. It's imperative. And Shanahan, I'm sure, is doing that. He may even seek to interview one of us. Owen.
Yeah, we're on the
radar.
Big vote going on. Big vote going on right now.
We're on the radar.
Who would be Prez and who would be GM if it was the two of you guys?
Well, whoever's got more power is what the job I'd be seeking out.
I think I can see O as like the Prez guy and Hayes, you the GM guy, because you're already a captain of a show. You know how to steer the ship, and O can just.
Let me just tell you this, Carlo.
Let
me just tell you this, Carlo. I've been involved in the National Hockey League since I was 19 years old. This guy's never stepped foot in the locker room, so you make the call.
Doesn't matter, man.
That's why you're Prez.
I'm 47. I'm 47.
Right?
Yeah, you're old.
It's been my whole adult life. It's been my whole adult life.
I've heard on this show 50 times that's a fireable offense. So if you were the president, you would fire Hayes within 2 weeks because there'd be something that you wouldn't like. You'd be like, "That's it. I'm showing you the door."
That's fine.
So I think
my contract would be just
ironclad.
Ironclad. I'd be getting paid regardless. All right, Carlo. We'll catch you tomorrow at 6. Thank you, buddy.
You got it, boys. Have a good one.
Carlo Colaiacovo. First up, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday
would be
through
the
Friday.
assistant GM of the Newfoundland Growlers, Hayes.
Go ahead, send me out there. So,
You got to earn your stride. You got to start. You got to build up.
I love Newfoundland. They love me out there.
That's true. And it wasn't May 5th. He's like May 5th. I'm like, they were still playing. It was.
I liked his recovery, though, and he said it's June 5th. And we're like, no, I don't think so. It's not even June yet. And then he fires up. No, it's May 5th.
May 5th.
That wasn't it either.
No,
it's
literally been 10 days.
All right. We got to go here. We'll come back with our best bets.
Right.
Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Playing both games tonight. Going to parlay both on the money line. Boston to win, money line. Dallas to win, money line. Parlayed, paying plus 136. So both are favored tonight on FanDuel. Celtics are a big favorite to win outright on the money line. But parlay it with the Dallas Stars. I like it tonight.
What's an NBA blowout? Is it 188?
Yeah, it's double digits. You get into 10 plus. Like a real blowout, you're talking 20 plus 25 points.
That's what you're going to see in.
That's what the other team quits.
That's when the other team says we're
literally quits. Yeah.
Right. Both sides are pulling the starters out with like 4 minutes to go.
Get ready for it. Get ready for it.
All right, we'll see. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today and find thousands of ways to wager. Please play responsibly. Must be 19 plus and physically located in Ontario. All right, 2 great games tonight. It's going to be a fun one. Enjoy those. Thank you to everyone behind the scenes. The Grappler made it to work today.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
The Grappler's a married man.
He's a married man.
By the way, new nickname coming up. That one, unacceptable, and it's dead.
Okay, the Grappler, RIP, possibly. Okay, we'll got to come up with something new. Maybe we'll get a poll question going on that. All right, boys. Good stuff. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes, everyone for tuning in today, radio, TV, podcast, web. We appreciate it. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
Assistant GM, Newfoundland Growlers, 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.